Have you ever felt completely ignored by your own children? Maybe they roll their eyes when you speak. Or they flat out refuse to listen to you, leaving you feeling frustrated, hurt, or even helpless. It's a feeling that many parents know all too well, those moments when it feels like you're not being heard or respected. No matter how hard you try. As a parent, it's natural to want your children to listen, to show respect, and to value the lessons you're trying to impart. But what do you do when they just don't seem to care? We've all been there. Maybe it's a teenager storming off after an argument, or a younger child ignoring your requests for the third time today. The temptation to snap, to raise your voice, or to dish out a punishment can be overwhelming. But here's the thing, reacting with anger or frustration often doesn't help. In fact, it can create even more distance between you and your child, turning what could be a teaching moment into a standoff. But what if there was another way? What if, instead of reacting with irritation, you could respond with calm, clarity, and compassion? What if you could not only address the behavior but also create an opportunity for your child to grow and reflect on their actions in a way that strengthens your relationship? In this video, we're going to show you how to navigate these difficult moments without losing your cool. We're diving into a calm, thoughtful, and effective approach to dealing with those moments when your children ignore you or show disrespect. By the end of this video, you'll have practical tools and strategies to respond with patience, wisdom, and empathy, rather than frustration or anger. We know it's not easy. It's tough to stay calm when you're feeling disrespected. But here's the good news, you don't have to react impulsively. Instead, you can use these situations as a chance to model the kind of behavior you want to see in your children, behavior that fosters mutual respect, understanding, and maturity. This video will take you through 6 practical steps for handling disrespect in a way that encourages healthier communication, builds trust, and teaches valuable life lessons to your kids. We'll also bring in timeless wisdom from Buddhist philosophy, focusing on principles like mindfulness, compassion, and self-awareness. These teachings don't just help us understand our children better, they help us understand ourselves. Imagine being able to stay centered and calm, even in the most challenging situations. Imagine creating a space where your children can reflect on their actions, learn from their mistakes, and grow into more responsible and respectful individuals. By combining modern parenting strategies with ancient Buddhist wisdom, you'll have the tools you need to transform these tense moments into opportunities for growth and connection, both for you and your children. If you're ready to stop reacting in frustration and start responding with purpose, clarity, and compassion, then you're in the right place. So, let's jump into these 6 steps, and start turning those difficult moments into powerful teaching opportunities. Together, we can transform the way we communicate with our children, creating a stronger, more respectful relationship that lasts a lifetime. Are you ready? Let's begin. Step 1. Keep your emotions in check. When your children ignore or disrespect you, it's easy to feel overwhelmed with anger or frustration. The truth is, these emotions are completely natural, they are part of the human experience. Especially when we feel hurt or disregarded. But as powerful as they are, anger and frustration don't always lead to the best outcomes. In fact, responding impulsively in those moments can escalate the situation and leave everyone feeling worse. So, what can we do instead? Buddhism teaches us the practice of mindfulness, what the Buddhists call sati. Mindfulness is the art of being fully present in the moment, particularly when emotions are running high. When your child disrespects you, this is the perfect moment to pause. Take a deep breath and ground yourself in the present moment. When we're upset, we often lose touch with the present and instead let our minds race ahead, focusing on anger or hurt. But mindfulness asks us to bring ourselves back, to center our minds and hearts in the here and now. In doing so, you create a mental space that allows you to respond with clarity, not reaction. The next time you feel your temper flare, try this: pause, breathe deeply, and imagine releasing the anger with each exhale. Visualize that tension leaving your body as you breathe. This simple but powerful technique can help you step back from the urge to react and instead respond with a clear mind. Remember, you set the tone for the interaction. If you remain calm, your child will feel that calmness. They'll see that, despite their behavior, you're not going to be swept away by emotion. And this sends a powerful message that you can face challenges with strength and composure, without being overwhelmed. When we respond impulsively, we often do so because our emotions feel so urgent, so insistent, that they demand immediate attention. But in reality, those emotions are fleeting. They come and go. What lasts longer, however, is the impact of our actions. Our children will remember how we responded far longer than they'll remember the words they spoke in that moment. And if we react in a way that teaches them how to handle difficult emotions, we provide them with a valuable life lesson, one that can shape their relationships with others for years to come. A personal story comes to mind. A parent once shared with me how their teenager was consistently disrespectful. One day, instead of reacting with anger, this parent took a deep breath and said, "I see you're upset. Let's talk when we're both calm." It was a simple yet profound shift. The teenager, who had been defensive and closed off, was taken by surprise. It created an opening for real conversation. And eventually, they were able to talk through the issues. This moment of calmness diffused the situation and set the stage for healthy communication. It wasn't about ignoring the disrespect or brushing it off, it was about creating a pause in the tension, allowing for the space needed to approach the conversation with openness and a clearer perspective. Mindfulness also encourages us to be kind to ourselves during moments of emotional turmoil. When we're angry or frustrated, it's easy to become self-critical, especially when we feel we've lost control. "I shouldn't be so upset," we might think. "I'm supposed to be the adult here." But in truth, these feelings of anger or frustration are part of being human. What matters is not that we feel them, but how we respond to them. By practicing mindfulness, we can acknowledge our emotions without being consumed by them. This self-compassion allows us to be more patient with ourselves, and by extension, more patient with our children. Mindfulness doesn't just help us in moments of conflict, it helps us build a foundation for more peaceful, mindful interactions overall. Imagine a scenario where you've been practicing mindfulness for some time. When your child ignores you or is rude, you're able to recognize the pattern of frustration rising within you. But rather than being swept away by it, you take a breath, you center yourself, you acknowledge your feelings, but you don't let them dictate your actions. Because you've built the habit of mindfulness, your response becomes automatic, you pause before reacting. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions, it means allowing them to exist without letting them control the situation. This shift is powerful not just for you, but for your child as well. When we model this kind of emotional regulation, we show our children that it's possible to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. We help them see that their emotions don't have to dictate their behavior. And just like us, they can learn to pause, breathe, and reflect before reacting. This is a skill they'll carry with them into adulthood. helping them navigate difficult situations with more emotional intelligence and self-awareness. In Buddhist philosophy, mindfulness is not just about being present, it's about being present with intention. When you pause and take a breath, you're not just buying yourself time to cool off. You're creating an opportunity to choose how you want to respond, rather than being driven by the impulses of your emotions. In a way, this is a form of self-mastery. You're not allowing your anger or frustration to control you, instead, you're choosing a path of wisdom, compassion, and patience. The next time you feel yourself on the edge of reacting with anger or frustration, try remembering this: your calmness is a gift not just to yourself, but to your child as well. It shows them that it's possible to face challenges with dignity and composure. It teaches them how to manage their own emotions. And ultimately, it helps create an environment where mutual respect can thrive. Emotional regulation doesn't just help you in the moment, it has lasting effects on the way your family communicates and relates to each other. It's important to remember that this process takes time. The first few times you try to pause and breathe before reacting, it might feel awkward or even unnatural. But with practice, it becomes easier. The more you commit to being mindful in moments of tension, the more naturally you'll respond with clarity instead of reaction. You'll find that the space between your emotional trigger and your response gets longer, allowing you to make choices that align with the person you want to be as a parent. Ultimately, the practice of keeping your emotions in check is about creating the space to respond with wisdom. It's about recognizing that our feelings don't have to control us, and that with a little pause, a deep breath, and a moment of clarity, we can choose how to respond with greater calm, compassion, and understanding. By embracing mindfulness, we can turn the difficult moments of parenting into opportunities for growth, both for ourselves and for our children. Step 2. Show understanding without giving in. Once you've taken the time to center yourself, to breathe and regain composure, you may find that the emotional fog starts to lift, allowing you to see the situation with greater clarity. This is when you can step back and truly observe your child, not through the lens of frustration, but with a fresh perspective. It's easy, in the heat of the moment, to view your child's disrespect as a direct challenge to your authority, a personal affront. But in reality, the behavior often has very little to do with you at all. More often than not, it's a signal, a symptom of something deeper going on inside them. It might be stress, anxiety, or insecurity. It could even be a cry for help in a language they don't yet fully understand. More often than not, your child may not even fully grasp why they're acting out in the way they are. This is where the Buddhist concept of karuna, or compassion, becomes incredibly valuable. Compassion isn't about excusing bad behavior or tolerating disrespect. It doesn't mean letting things slide just because your child is upset or overwhelmed. Compassion, in this sense, is about seeing beyond the outward behavior and recognizing that your child, just like all of us, is a human being with struggles, fears, and uncertainties. Their outbursts may be a reflection of those struggles, an expression of pain or frustration that they have yet to figure out how to articulate. When you extend compassion, you're not condoning the behavior, but acknowledging the inner world of your child. You're recognizing that behind the disrespect might be something deeper, a sense of not being heard, a fear of failure, or a cry for attention or understanding. When you respond with compassion, you create space for your child to feel seen and heard. This is an important distinction. Compassion does not mean giving in or allowing your child to behave inappropriately. It means creating a bridge of understanding. One way your child feels safe to express their feelings without fear of judgment. This shift in approach can make all the difference in how the situation plays out. Take a moment to reflect, what might my child be going through right now? What's happening beneath the surface that they haven't yet been able to express? Is there something in their life, at school, with their friends, or perhaps within themselves, that's weighing on them, but they haven't found the words to share? Often, when we pause and step back from the frustration of the moment, we realize that there's more going on than what meets the eye. Your child's outburst may not be as simple as misbehavior, it might be a reaction to something they're struggling with internally. For instance, I remember working with a mother whose teenage son had been increasingly defiant. His tone was sharp, his attitude dismissive, and his words cutting. At first, she was angry, even hurt by his behavior, feeling that he was intentionally undermining her authority. But instead of snapping back in retaliation or imposing a punishment, she decided to take a different approach. She sat down with him calmly, choosing to engage in a real conversation rather than react to the surface behavior. And that's when things started to shift. As they talked, she discovered that her son had been feeling overwhelmed by schoolwork. He was struggling to keep up with assignments. And on top of that, he felt increasingly isolated from his friends. He had no idea how to express the emotional turmoil he was experiencing, so it came out in the form of irritability and disrespect toward his mother. His behavior wasn't personal. It wasn't a rejection of her, it was a reflection of his internal world. He was frustrated, but he didn't know how to share that frustration in a healthy way. By showing compassion, this mother created a safe space for her son to open up. Instead of responding with anger, she responded with empathy. And that simple shift in energy changed the entire course of the conversation. Once they addressed the underlying issues, his struggles at school and his feelings of isolation, his attitude toward her softened. The walls he had built up started to come down. It wasn't that he was suddenly fixed, but the foundation of trust and understanding between them grew stronger. Their relationship began to heal because she had seen beyond the behavior and into the deeper needs that were driving it. This is the power of compassion in action. It doesn't just calm the storm, it transforms it. By showing empathy and understanding, you diffuse the tension, and create a space for your child to express what's really going on inside. It also opens the door to healthier communication, one that isn't driven by conflict but by connection. When your child feels understood, even if you don't agree with their behavior, they begin to trust you more. They know that you're not just punishing them or seeing them through the lens of their worst moments. They know you're seeing them as a whole person, with struggles, weaknesses, and emotions that need to be navigated with care. At the same time, showing understanding doesn't mean you give in to negative behavior. It's a delicate balance. You can hold space for their pain and frustration while still setting boundaries and holding them accountable for their actions. Compassion doesn't mean you allow disrespect or let them get away with unacceptable behavior. It simply means you approach the situation with a mindset of curiosity and care. Rather than reacting from a place of anger or frustration, you acknowledge their feelings but also make it clear that certain behaviors, like disrespect or defiance, are not acceptable. This approach also teaches your child something incredibly valuable, that their emotions are valid, but their actions still have consequences. It helps them differentiate between having feelings, which are natural and okay, and expressing those feelings in a healthy, respectful way, which is what we need to encourage. When you respond with understanding, you provide them with a model for how to handle their own difficult emotions in a way that doesn't harm others or damage relationships. As a parent, showing understanding without giving in requires a shift in mindset. It's about stepping out of the cycle of reactive parenting, where you respond to behavior with more behavior, and moving into a space of proactive parenting, where you are intentionally guiding your child through their emotions and helping them navigate their challenges. This doesn't mean that you never get frustrated or upset, it means you choose to respond with intention, even when emotions are running high. The next time your child disrespects you, try to see it through a lens of compassion. Ask yourself, what might they be struggling with that they haven't found the words to express? It could be something as simple as not feeling heard. Or it could be something more complex like social anxiety, academic pressure, or the fear of not living up to expectations. When you take the time to understand their inner world, you're not only helping them feel seen, but you're also helping yourself respond in a way that fosters growth, connection, and mutual respect. Ultimately, the goal is not just to stop the behavior in the moment, but to build a foundation of trust, empathy, and communication that will serve your relationship in the long term. Compassion doesn't mean you overlook disrespect or allow negative behavior to continue unchecked. It means you're choosing to see your child as a whole person with needs, struggles, and emotions that deserve attention and care. And when you respond with that understanding, you don't just diffuse the immediate situation, you create a stronger, more connected relationship that can withstand future challenges. Step 3. Set clear boundaries calmly. Understanding your child's emotions is essential, but it's equally important to recognize that understanding doesn't mean accepting behavior that's hurtful or disrespectful. Children, like all of us, need to feel seen and heard, but they also need to understand that there are limits to how their emotions can be expressed. Healthy relationships, whether with children, spouses, or friends, are built on clear and consistent boundaries. And this is especially true in the parent-child dynamic. While empathy and compassion go a long way, it's not enough to simply empathize with your child's struggles. You also need to communicate what is acceptable and what isn't. This is where the Buddhist principles of right speech and right action come into play. These teachings are rooted in the idea that our words and actions should serve to benefit ourselves and others. And this concept is deeply relevant when it comes to setting boundaries with children. Right speech encourages us to speak with honesty, kindness, and calmness. Right action emphasizes acting in ways that are mindful and beneficial. So when you're setting boundaries with your child, the key is to be firm, yet gentle, clear, yet compassionate. Setting a boundary is not about exercising control or imposing punishment. It's about clarity, consistency, and maintaining a peaceful environment, even in moments of tension. For instance, let's say your child speaks to you in a disrespectful manner. It's easy to react in anger, especially when we feel disrespected. But responding with anger only escalates the situation. And it doesn't teach your child anything about the value of mutual respect. Instead, calmly and assertively state, "I understand that you're upset, but it's not acceptable to speak to me that way. Let's agree on a way to communicate respectfully." Notice how this statement isn't a confrontation, it's an invitation to a better way of interacting. By speaking calmly, you're modeling for your child that disagreements and frustrations can be handled without escalating into anger. And by setting that boundary, you're teaching them what's acceptable behavior and what isn't. It's also important to be consistent. Setting a boundary once is a step in the right direction, but children learn best when they see that the same expectations are held over time. Consistency is key. If you set a boundary but don't follow through with it, your child may begin to question the importance of that boundary. But when you remain calm and firm each time, your child starts to understand that respect is non-negotiable. It's not a matter of the moment or the mood, but a fundamental value that both of you share, along with clearly communicating the boundary. It's also necessary to explain the consequences for crossing those boundaries, but again, this must be done in a calm, non-threatening manner. For example, if your child continues to speak disrespectfully, you might say, "If you continue to speak to me this way, we will need to take a break from this conversation, and you will lose phone privileges for the evening." The key here is not to threaten or punish but to set up clear expectations for behavior, with logical consequences that reflect the situation. By explaining what happens when boundaries are not respected, you give your child a chance to reflect on their actions before the consequences unfold. This teaches them that every action has a reaction and that their words and actions affect not only themselves but others around them. A quick story comes to mind about a father I know, who was very mindful of setting boundaries with his children. In his family, one of the rules was that no phones were allowed during dinner. One evening, his daughter continued to use her phone even after he had reminded her of the rule. Rather than reacting with anger, he calmly said, "I understand that you may want to check your phone, but during dinner, we focus on talking to each other. You can have your phone back after the meal." His tone was firm but gentle, and his consistency over time made it clear that this wasn't a rule that could be ignored when it was inconvenient. Over time, his daughter learned to respect this boundary because it wasn't met with frustration or anger, it was simply communicated with calm firmness. A gentle reminder of the shared family values. This is the power of setting boundaries calmly and consistently. It's not about controlling your child, it's about fostering an environment where both of you can thrive. Boundaries aren't just rules, they are the structures within which healthy relationships grow. They provide safety, predictability, and respect. When children know what to expect and understand that their actions have consequences, they feel secure, and when those boundaries are communicated calmly and without anger, they're more likely to accept them, even if they don't always agree. Another important aspect of setting boundaries is recognizing that children are still learning. They are still developing emotional regulation and understanding the effects of their behavior. So when setting boundaries, it's essential to provide clear guidance. Not just about what's unacceptable, but about what's expected. Instead of focusing solely on what they've done wrong, shift the conversation toward teaching them what they can do better. For example, if your child has spoken to you disrespectfully, instead of just focusing on the consequence, you could say, "I understand that you're upset, and it's okay to feel that way. But when you're feeling upset, it's important to express your feelings calmly. Let's practice how we can talk respectfully, even when we're angry." This approach teaches your child that boundaries aren't just about limiting behavior, they're also about helping them develop the skills they need to manage their emotions and communicate more effectively. The key takeaway here is that boundaries, when set with calmness and clarity, don't just limit bad behavior, they create space for growth. By setting expectations with firmness and consistency, you're teaching your child respect for both you and themselves. When you maintain a calm demeanor, even in the face of conflict, you help your child learn that difficult emotions don't have to result in chaos or hurtful words. Instead, they can be channeled into productive communication and healthier interactions. Setting boundaries is not about being rigid or authoritarian, it's about fostering mutual respect and understanding. It's about teaching your child that their actions have consequences, but also that their feelings are valid and can be expressed in healthy ways. As a parent, your role is to help your child navigate the complexities of their emotions, while also giving them the tools to build positive, respectful relationships with others. And in doing so, you create an environment where both you and your child can grow together, one where love, understanding, and mutual respect are the guiding principles. Step 4. Lead by example. As parents, we often find ourselves wishing for our children to embody the qualities we hold dear: respect, patience, kindness, and self-control. We want them to treat others with compassion and understanding, to communicate effectively even in moments of frustration, and to approach challenges with a sense of calm and resilience. But here's the thing, children don't just learn from what we say, they learn from what they see us do. In fact, they are far more influenced by our actions than by our words. If we want our children to treat us with respect, kindness, and patience, the best place to start is by modeling those same behaviors ourselves. In Buddhist philosophy, the concept of role modeling is central to the teachings of mindfulness, compassion, and right conduct. As parents, we are not just caregivers and protectors, we are also teachers. And our lives serve as living examples of the values we hope to instill in our children. Our words and actions create the foundation for how they will later navigate their own relationships and challenges. If we want our children to be mindful, compassionate, and respectful, we must first embody those qualities ourselves, especially during moments of difficulty. This doesn't mean that we need to be perfect. We are human, and we will all experience moments of frustration, anger, or impatience. What matters is how we handle those moments and how we return to our values in the face of difficulty. The beauty of Buddhist teachings is that they emphasize not perfection, but consistent effort and mindfulness. Our children are watching us, not in search of flawless behavior, but for guidance on how to handle the messiness of life with grace. For example, think about how you respond when your child acts out or speaks to you disrespectfully. If you want your child to speak kindly, then it's essential that you speak kindly to them, even in moments when you're frustrated. If you expect your child to demonstrate patience, you must show patience in your own behavior. If you want your child to remain calm in stressful situations, you must first model calmness yourself. It's not enough to tell them what to do, we must show them how it's done. Especially when emotions run high. This idea of role modeling extends beyond direct interactions with your child. It also applies to how you handle stress, conflict, and challenges in other areas of your life. For instance, think about the last time you faced a stressful situation, maybe at work, with a friend, or even with another family member. How did you react? If your child observed you handling that situation with calmness and thoughtfulness, they would internalize that response. They would begin to understand that respect isn't just about words or tone. It's about the way we approach the world and how we choose to respond to difficulties. Imagine a father facing a tough day at work. He comes home tired, but his son is being particularly challenging, refusing to follow simple instructions. It's easy in that moment to let the frustration bubble up and to snap at the child. However, this father, aware of the importance of role modeling, pauses for a moment, takes a deep breath, and speaks to his son with calm clarity. I know you're upset, but I need you to speak to me with respect, he says, without raising his voice or becoming defensive. His tone remains calm and steady, even as his emotions might be running high. This simple act of modeling respectful communication teaches the child that it's possible to remain calm and respectful, even in moments of frustration. Over time, the child begins to mirror this behavior, realizing that when faced with conflict, There is always a choice in how to respond. This is the power of leading by example. By consistently modeling the behaviors you wish to see in your child, you are not just telling them what is expected, you are showing them how to live those values in real life. You teach them that respect is not conditional or dependent on the behavior of others, it is a way of life that must be practiced consistently, regardless of the circumstances. When children see their parents navigating challenges with mindfulness, patience, and respect, they learn to do the same. They internalize these behaviors as the natural way of responding to the world around them. But leading by example doesn't just benefit your child, it also strengthens the relationship between you. When you consistently model respectful behavior, you build trust. Your child begins to see that your expectations are not arbitrary, they are rooted in a deeper understanding of how to live harmoniously. They come to understand that you are not just trying to control their behavior, but are invested in their growth as individuals who can face challenges with composure and empathy. Of course, this doesn't mean you should suppress your emotions or pretend that everything is always okay. On the contrary, part of leading by example is showing your child that it's okay to feel emotions deeply, it's how you handle those emotions that matters. When you make mistakes or fall short, own it. Apologize when necessary, but also demonstrate how to learn from those moments and approach them with self-compassion. This teaches your child the important lesson that no one is perfect, but we can always strive to do better and grow from our experiences. In many ways, leading by example is the most powerful tool you have as a parent. When you act with mindfulness, kindness, patience, and respect, you teach your child to do the same. But more than that, you create a safe space for them to practice those qualities themselves. Children learn best through observation and imitation. If they see you acting in a way that aligns with the values you want to instill in them, they will naturally follow suit. They learn that values are not abstract concepts but lived practices that shape how we interact with the world. Let's take another example. A mother I spoke to once shared how her daughter had been struggling with controlling her temper. The mother made a conscious effort to model patience and calmness, especially when she was frustrated. When the daughter witnessed her mother calmly handling her own moments of irritation, it made a significant impact. Over time, the daughter started to mirror her mother's behavior. Instead of lashing out when she was upset, she began taking deep breaths and finding a way to express herself without losing control. The mother's ability to model the behavior she wanted to see created an environment where her daughter felt empowered to practice those same behaviors. Leading by example is not about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about being mindful of how your actions align with your words and showing your child that respect, patience, and kindness are not just things we ask of others, but qualities that define the way we live our lives. By doing this, you create an environment where your child feels safe, supported, and guided. And through that example, you give them the tools they need to grow into mindful, compassionate, and respectful individuals. Step 5. Create moments of connection outside of conflict. While it's essential to address disrespectful behavior when it arises, it's equally crucial to nurture positive, meaningful moments with your children outside of those moments of tension. The stronger the relationship you have with your child, the more capable you'll be of navigating instances of disrespect with patience, understanding, and compassion. It's in these quieter, non-confrontational moments that you can lay the groundwork for a bond of trust that will make it easier to approach the more challenging aspects of parenting. In Buddhist philosophy, there is a concept known as Sangha, a community of individuals who support one another on their path toward well-being. This idea can extend beautifully into the family dynamic. As your family is, in many ways, a sangha of its own. It's a community where each member, regardless of age, supports the others through challenges, growth, and learning, by creating time to be present with one another outside of moments of conflict. You strengthen this familial bond, fostering a sense of safety and emotional security that will allow your child to feel supported even when difficult conversations need to take place. The key to creating this sense of connection doesn't have to involve grand gestures or elaborate plans. Sometimes, the most powerful connections are formed in the smallest, most everyday moments. You don't need a day at an amusement park or a week-long vacation to build trust. Simple acts of kindness, shared time, and active presence can go much further than you may think. Think about small, consistent rituals that you can share with your child, whether it's having dinner together without the distraction of phones, taking a walk after meals, or engaging in an activity that they enjoy. These moments don't have to be long or complicated, they simply need to be genuine and rooted in the intention of connecting. One example comes to mind of a mother who made it a point to spend Saturday mornings with her son at a local coffee shop. Every week, they would go together, just the two of them. No phones, no distractions. Just time to talk, laugh, and share. This became their sacred ritual, one that held no agenda other than connection. Over time, this simple act created a solid foundation between them, built on mutual respect and shared experiences. They spoke about everything: life, dreams, frustrations, and joys. These conversations weren't about resolving conflict or setting boundaries, they were about showing up for each other in a meaningful way. By the time tension arose during the week, perhaps a moment of disrespect or frustration, the mother and son could lean back on the connection they had formed. The shared moments of laughter, openness, and kindness provided them with the emotional grounding they needed to navigate the conflict more easily. They remembered that they were a team, not adversaries. This concept of connection isn't just about fixing issues as they arise, it's about laying the foundation for better communication in the future. When a child feels emotionally connected to their parents outside of moments of conflict, they are far more likely to respond with respect when disagreements occur. It's like planting seeds for future growth. The more you nurture those positive interactions, the more resilient your relationship will be when challenges come. A child who feels valued and understood in their day-to-day life is more likely to extend those same feelings back to you when things get tough. It's much easier to approach a child with understanding and patience if you have built a foundation of trust and connection. Think about the difference between reacting to disrespect in the heat of the moment versus handling it after a calm, connected exchange. If your child feels heard and respected on a regular basis, through shared moments and undistracted time together, they are more likely to listen when you set boundaries and speak calmly in moments of tension. A connected child doesn't see you as an authority figure out to control them. Instead, they see you as someone they trust, someone who values their feelings and has their best interests at heart. Take another example. A father I know intentionally carves out time to connect with his daughter during the week. They'll spend time cooking together, discussing her interests, and sharing their thoughts about their day. It's an easy routine that doesn't require much planning, but it's filled with meaning. During these moments, they aren't talking about rules or expectations, they're simply present with each other. When his daughter has a rough day and acts out, or when there's a moment of disrespect, the father is able to approach the situation with a calm, clear mind. The time they've spent connecting outside of conflict makes it easier for him to lead with empathy and clarity when things get tough. She doesn't feel like she's being scolded, but instead understands that her father is there to guide her through the challenges, not just enforce rules. Their bond allows for a deeper level of understanding when boundaries need to be set. By creating these moments of connection, you're also teaching your child the value of relationships that are rooted in love and understanding, not just discipline. Every shared laugh, every meaningful conversation, every moment of being present with one another reinforces the idea that relationships are about more than just what happens during times of tension. They're about creating a sense of security and trust that can help navigate the harder moments with grace. It's also important to note that these moments of connection can allow children to see and understand their parents in a deeper way. Sometimes, children can feel that parents are only focused on the rules or on correcting their behavior. But when you take time to connect with them on a human level, showing interest in their passions, respecting their thoughts, and creating an environment where they feel safe to express themselves, they begin to feel that you are invested in their well-being as individuals, not just as people who need to be managed. This connection breeds a sense of mutual respect that makes it easier for your child to understand the importance of respecting you when conflicts arise. Ultimately, moments of connection are about building the emotional security that will make moments of conflict easier to manage. When your child feels safe, heard, and valued in everyday moments, they are much more likely to respond to your guidance and discipline with understanding. These shared times create a backdrop of trust that allows for better communication, more respect, and less defensiveness when tensions flare. As you foster these moments of connection, remember that they don't have to be perfect, nor do they need to be elaborate. What matters most is that you are present with your child, that you are taking the time to build that bond and show them that you are there for them, not just when things are good, but through the difficulties as well. This consistent presence will create a resilient foundation in your relationship, one that will make it easier to address challenges like disrespect with patience, love, and understanding. Step 6. Give them space to reflect. After addressing disrespectful behavior and setting clear boundaries, the final step is to give your child space to reflect on their actions. It's easy to expect immediate change or resolution after a confrontation, but respect and understanding often take time to manifest. Growth isn't something that happens instantly, it's a gradual process. Especially when it comes to emotional and behavioral development. Children need the space to internalize what they've learned and reflect on the consequences of their actions, which will eventually guide them toward better choices and more thoughtful responses. In Buddhist philosophy, there is a principle called vipassana, or insight meditation, which encourages deep reflection and awareness. It's the practice of stepping back from a situation and observing one's thoughts and feelings without judgment. This practice teaches us to pause, breathe, and reflect on our actions and their consequences. In the same way, giving your child the opportunity to reflect on their behavior helps them gain insight into their own actions, instead of rushing into immediate resolution or forcing an apology. Giving them time to process the situation allows them to come to their own understanding and realize the impact of their behavior on others. It's important to remember that, as with all forms of personal growth, this process takes time. Expecting an immediate change in your child's behavior or a quick resolution can lead to frustration on both sides. Children, especially younger ones, may not always have the emotional vocabulary or maturity to fully comprehend the situation or understand the depth of their actions. That's why creating a space for reflection is key. Rather than demanding an immediate apology or insisting on an instant solution, provide your child with the space they need to think. For example, after a difficult interaction, instead of insisting they apologize right away, you might say, "I know you're upset right now, And I think it would be good for both of us to take some time to think about what happened. When you're ready, we can talk about it. This allows them the time and freedom to process their emotions without feeling pressured or defensive. By allowing this space for reflection, you are helping your child develop a deeper sense of self-awareness. This practice teaches them that their actions have consequences, and they have the power to change their behavior. Over time, they will learn to recognize patterns in their actions and develop a greater capacity for self-control. Reflection creates a bridge between behavior and understanding. It encourages children to think critically about their choices and how they can improve. Instead of reacting impulsively, they will start to internalize the value of pausing before responding. They will learn to ask themselves questions like, how did my behavior affect others? Or what could I have done differently? These reflective practices are the building blocks of emotional maturity. As a parent, it's crucial to model this same reflective practice. When you make a mistake, lose your temper, or act impulsively, take time to reflect on your actions. Admit to your child when you've made a misstep. Apologize sincerely, and share what you learned from the experience. For example, if you've raised your voice in frustration, you could later say, I didn't handle that situation well, and I'm sorry for raising my voice. I should have taken a moment to breathe before I responded. I'm going to work on being calmer next time. By modeling this behavior, you are teaching your child that it's okay to make mistakes. We all do. What matters is what we do after we've made them, how we take responsibility, learn from them, and make better choices moving forward. This approach not only teaches children the value of self-reflection, but it also fosters a sense of safety and trust. When they see that mistakes don't have to lead to shame or punishment, but rather to growth and learning, they feel more confident in their ability to reflect on their own actions. They begin to understand that growth is a process, and it's okay to take time to learn from mistakes. This approach nurtures a growth mindset, where children see challenges and setbacks as opportunities to learn and improve, rather than as failures. Allowing space for reflection also helps to create a calmer, more peaceful home environment. In the heat of the moment, emotions can run high, and it's easy for the situation to escalate. But by giving your child time to process, you give both of you the chance to cool down and return to the situation with a clearer perspective. The pause not only gives your child the chance to reflect, but it also allows you to approach the situation with greater clarity and calmness. When both parent and child return to the discussion, they can do so with a more open heart and mind, ready to engage in a constructive conversation rather than a defensive or reactive one. It's important to remember that this process of reflection isn't just about the immediate situation. It's about building a habit of introspection that will serve your child throughout their life. The ability to pause, reflect, and learn from their behavior is a skill that will help them navigate all kinds of relationships, whether with peers, teachers, or future colleagues. By teaching them this skill early on, you are giving them the tools to develop emotional intelligence and self-awareness that will serve them for years to come. In time, your child will come to see the value in reflection, and it will become a natural part of their emotional development. They will start to understand that respect isn't just something they give to others, but something they give to themselves as well. They will learn that taking a step back to reflect on their actions is a form of self-respect, and that their ability to make amends and grow is a sign of maturity. The more they practice this reflection, the more adept they will become at making thoughtful choices and engaging in more respectful interactions. Ultimately, by giving your child the space to reflect, you are not just helping them understand their own behavior in the moment, You are teaching them a lifelong skill that will empower them to be more mindful, respectful, and emotionally intelligent individuals. They will learn that taking time to reflect isn't a punishment, but a gift, an opportunity to grow, learn, and become better versions of themselves. And in doing so, you will see the positive impact on your relationship. As your child grows into a more self-aware, responsible, and respectful individual, handling disrespectful behavior from your children can certainly feel overwhelming at times. But with the right tools, it becomes an opportunity for growth, not just for them, but for you as well. Parenting is a journey, one that's filled with both challenges and moments of immense reward. The 6 steps we've discussed today: keeping your emotions in check, showing understanding without giving in, setting clear boundaries calmly, leading by example, creating moments of connection, and giving your child space to reflect, are all essential pieces of a larger puzzle. They help create a healthy, respectful relationship with your child. A relationship where both of you can thrive, learn, and grow together. Parenting isn't about being perfect, it's about being present, consistent, and patient. As parents, we're not expected to have all the answers or to always react in the perfect way. What truly matters is our willingness to show up, to remain calm in the face of frustration, and to engage with our children with an open heart. When you practice mindfulness, compassion, and self-awareness, principles that are deeply rooted in Buddhist teachings, you bring a sense of balance and clarity into your parenting. These practices don't require you to be flawless, but they encourage you to approach your relationship with your child with love, intention, and a calm mind. By consistently applying these practices, you not only address the disrespectful behavior in the moment but also lay the groundwork for your child's emotional development. You teach them that respect isn't just about following rules, it's about being mindful of one's actions, understanding others, and growing from mistakes. You model what it means to stay calm under pressure, to act with compassion, and to handle challenges with a clear, grounded mind. Over time, your child will internalize these lessons and carry them into their own relationships and experiences. When we take a moment to reflect, to breathe, to pause before reacting, we give ourselves the space to respond with wisdom rather than impulse. We also teach our children to do the same. This kind of parenting isn't just about managing behavior, it's about nurturing emotional intelligence and developing the tools to navigate the complexities of life with grace and respect. It's about creating a relationship that's built on mutual understanding, trust, and a shared commitment to personal growth. Thank you for watching this video. I truly hope you found the insights and practices shared here helpful. Parenting is never easy, but with these tools in hand, you can face each challenge with a heart full of patience and wisdom. If you found value in this content, I'd love for you to leave a comment below and share your thoughts or experiences. Your feedback not only helps us grow but also fosters a community where we can all learn and support one another. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content on mindful parenting and practical tips for raising emotionally intelligent, respectful children. Together, we can create a space where we all thrive and raise the next generation with love, respect, and understanding. Thank you again for being here, and I look forward to connecting with you in future videos.